When I got out of the Navy, we got a war loan, and that's how we bought the equipment to start up. Went out to, there were some sales of American trailers with laundry and dry cleaning equipment on them, and I purchased one of those trailers and set up a plant from that. Fairly primitive, pretty cheap. There were 6 trailers for sale that day, and I bought the last one. It had a puncture in it on the tyre. It looked a bit beleaguered, and so I got it cheap, which was good.
And what was in the trailer?
Washing machine, a little hydro, a little tumbler, a little calorifier, a boiler, and it was all driven on one shaft with one motor. So it was a terribly complicated thing. Belts were always breaking, and it was a really raw equipment, and not very easy to maintain. And I soon learned that I had to repair belts and repair trolley parts of the machinery that I'd never dreamt of. Yeah.
What made you go for dry cleaning as a business?
It's just the chance that this guy offered me a job.
Right.
Yeah, but I went in there, and this guy was doing so well. The place was absolutely jammed with clothes to the rooftop, and Len Gray used to drive his big Buick up the front there, and forget the name. I think he had a horse by the name of Audacity, which was quite a famous horse in those days, and it was racing home to victory, and he'd be driving off in his big Buick out to Flemington, and we'd be slaving in the factory there, and I used to watch him, and I suppose I thought, gee, that'd be good to be like that one day. But I've never taken up racing.
And how did it work out in the very early days?
Well, I left when I left the Navy. Looked around for a shop, searched Melbourne suburbs for a suitable shop, and used to stand on corners and watch traffic counts and try to work out what would be a good spot. But fortunately, we went to the northern suburbs, into Smith Street, Fitzroy, and there was a shop there. And I'd heard that Foy and Gibson were moving over from the Collingwood side of Smith Street to the Fitzroy side, and they would be right next to me. Actually, it didn't happen for 2 or 3 years after I rented the shop. But I rented the shop, I think we paid £7 a week for the shop. It was a single-fronted shop with an old shed out the back, dwelling upstairs, and that's how we started. Put the cleaning equipment in the shed and the pressing machine in the shop, and away we went.
Now, at this stage, you're still 20 years old, is that correct?
I was actually 19 when I started. Yeah.
19 when you started the shop.
Yeah.
That's very young to start out in business on your own.
Yeah. I only got one regret. I'd like to have been a grocer, actually. Then that would have had could have had good results there. But anyway, that's the way it is.
Now, what appeals to you about being a grocer?
Oh, just being a shopkeeper and looking after the customer and that sort of thing. I like that sort of thing. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. I used to pride myself a bit and go out and be quite proud to sweep the shop out in Smith Street, Fitzroy, and in front of the shop, and sweep it and say hello to a few people. And I used to like that. Yeah.
The community engagement.
Yeah, I think I like that. Yeah. Anyway.
So the thing of relating.
Forget the grocer thing, because that's just a pipe dream. But it would have been. It had a bigger future than dry cleaning. Put it that way.
Maybe now's the time.
Yeah, a little bit too late. Yep. And I think Spotless is very lucky that we're born into the service industry, and I think it's a great scope for us to keep growing in that business, and as long as you do it well and economically and effectively, and efficiently, and it's easier said than done. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's at least you've got a chance. If you're in manufacturing, it's pretty hard.
Mm. So when you opened the first shopfront, was your ambition simply to make that work, or did you have a bigger picture in mind?
No, not a big, just to survive. Yeah. But I think if you just look after the customer, everything works out pretty well. It used to be my emphasis. Give them quick service, because the whole industry was very, very sleepy when I came into it, and anyone that just shook a leg a bit and gave service at a good price, you couldn't miss. As I said before, that's very complacent they were in those days. So it was ripe for someone to have a bit of a go at it. So it was so easy, really. Yeah.
How did your thinking develop? What did you start to believe you could achieve?
I just went on and looked for good formulas that worked, and I was more a marketer than a dry cleaner, really. I was only in business for 5 or 6 years before I realised that the only thing that mattered was that you had to get plenty of work in to keep you going, and that was all dry cleaning is basically the same. It's not you can't be good or too bad if you've got the good equipment and staff. It's almost about the same. So it's just the one who sells their business the best is the one that survives. So I used to travel the world just looking for marketing ideas and copying other people. Didn't have an idea of my own, but I used to just be good at copying someone. I used to hear about a plant, say in Kansas City. I heard there's a guy there that his name was Sam Paul. He left his father's. Father had a big chain of dry cleaning stores in New York, and Sam went to sleepy Kansas City, Kansas, and opened up 10 drive-in dry cleaning stores, and introduced a New York concept of coupons. And he, in the Kansas City Star, which I used to get a copy of every week, just to copy his ads, and the Kansas City Star had it on page 3 was these list of coupons. Come in and clip your coupons and get a discount. Of course, the beauty of it is that the dry cleaning is not an impulse purchase. You have to make up your mind before you leave the house. That's why we used to advertise like mad on the radio and TV in the mornings. Don't leave home without it. Sort of the American Express idea. Don't leave home without it, because once you leave home and you haven't got your garment to be dry cleaned, you're not going to come to us. So we used to bash them on the radio and television in the morning, and in the newspapers, coupons. And so don't forget to clip your coupons and come and visit Spotless. And I got this from Sam Paul. He was enormously successful in Kansas City. Just swamped the market there and made a fortune.
Did he happily share his knowledge with you?
Definitely. I found that amazing with the Americans, how they tell you everything. Absolutely open. Go to England, you couldn't get a thing out of them. They wouldn't share anything. Wouldn't even buy you lunch.
Where did the name Spotless come from?
Spotless Dry Cleaners was a chain in New York, run by the Harry Denberg, whom I got to know pretty well later on. But the name Spotless was first thought of by a guy by the name of Alf Peacock at the Light New Dry Cleaners, who'd heard of Spotless Cleaners, and it sounded to me like a good name. I just grabbed onto it.
So you regularly went over and
visited the same guys or other build up good relationships. We had a group of dry cleaners around the world called Varsity, and there was 30 dry cleaners, the leading dry cleaners in the world. We used to meet every year, and we'd come over with our best sales ideas, our biggest lemons, our biggest mistakes, or biggest production idea, or how to motivate shop girls into selling more, and how to keep shop girls, incentive schemes and all that stuff, and incentive scheme for the staff, the pressing staff, and it was, you got that way that the more business that you promoted through advertising, the happier the staff were, because it kept the volume, and then they got incentive out of that. They got their rewards out of that.
So you were running incentives from the very beginning?
Yeah, well, not the very beginning, but pretty early in the piece, in the 50s, yeah. Which I'm a strong believer in incentives. And I don't mean to councillors or politicians, I'm talking about staff, yeah. Yeah, I'm a strong believer in that.
The innovations you returned from the United States with in the first instance, what impact did they have on your business?
Oh, enormous impact, yeah. Yeah, everything I've spoken about is, I haven't thought of it, I've just copied from someone else.
So once you started clipping coupons and promoting hard as you did in the mornings,
yeah.
What growth did that cause in the business?
Yeah, very strong growth, yeah, very strong growth.
And how did that look in terms of numbers of shop fronts and employees over what period
Yeah,
of
well,
time?
when you advertise a lot, you get more real estate agents ringing up and say there's an empty shop here, or there's a shop up in Maui, or there's a dry cleaning plant for sale in Shepparton, and it opens up all sorts of avenues in those days. I'm not sure what happened today, but so many opportunities in those days was much easier, I would imagine, than it would be today. Well, dry cleaning is no good today because it's nothing like the industry it was. That's why I would have preferred to be in groceries.
And what prompted the float in '61?
Well, you never knew whether to buy your wife a fur coat, or buy a beach house, or buy some luxury that you might want, or put another pressing machine in. It was you never have enough money to. You felt that you had to go and put it in the business to keep it going, and then you had no money to do anything that you wanted to do at home, beyond the basics. So that was the opportunity to get some cash, and then still have the business. That's about what it boils down to, yeah.
And once you were able to get that cash, what were you able to do that you had wanted to do? What other interests and passions did you have in your life that you were able to express?
Yeah, well, being in the dry cleaning business automatically puts you in the property business, because your tenants in about 350 shops. So sooner or later, one's going to be for sale, or the rents go too high, so you say to the bloke, will you sell? And so we finished up owning quite a few shops. And so you finish up making more out of the properties than you do out of the business. And the bloke might own the two shops, so you might both buy both shops from him. So then, with a bit of money we got out of the business, we could then buy more shops and things like that, and more property, and then buy the fur coat that I referred to. Not that you can buy fur coats today, but that type of thing, yeah.
Do you look at the progression of Spotless as something that happened in phases?
Yes, yeah, definitely. Dry cleaning, about the 70s, about 1970s, it was becoming apparent that wash and wear, easy care, stain proof, they were words that used to really send a shiver down my spine. The thought of the dry cleaning may not be required anymore, because of washing machines coming into the house, and dryers, and woolen garments not so important, synthetics, easy care garments, and this used to make me toss and turn, and I could see that dry cleaning was not going to be the growth business that I'd hoped it would be forever. So we started looking for other things to do. and I went to America with that in mind. What to do was we had there was banking, which was sort of beyond us. Oil, that was a big thing in America. Then fast food was the thing that really stuck out. McDonald's was spreading like mad, and I tried to get a McDonald's franchise but couldn't. They said we'll be there one day. I remember the bloke said to me, he said Ronald McDonald will be more well known in Australia in 10 years' time than your Prime Minister, and he sure turned out to be right. Anyway, we finished up getting a franchise for a food chain called Red Barn, which was similar to McDonald's, and that's how we got into the food business. That's how we started going into the food business. And then we got some Kentucky Fried Chicken franchises. They were very successful. We opened a few other things like Granny's Ice Cream and Krusty's Bread Shops. So we got in, we started to but and then the next thing, as you mentioned phases, the next thing would be that Brian Blythe began to show his influence on the company, and he engineered the purchase of a dry cleaner called Ensign. Ensign were the big industrial dry cleaners in Australia, the biggest industrial workwear and that sort of stuff. And
the form that Spotless now takes, the nature of the business as it now is, for you, has that all been a natural progression? Has it gone the way you wanted it to go?
They led the charge strongly till the 70s, but from then on, Brian Blythe and Ron Evans and Peter Wilson have been the performers, and I've tried to help them in every possible way, and but they've been the driving force. I mean, I've had my comments and influences, but no, I've got to say that they were the ones that have led our charge into defence contracts, plastic coat hangers. Although we were doing plastic coat hangers in my day, but we've grown into a worldwide manufacturer and supplier of coat hangers to the leading retailers in the world today. I think we're the second biggest, or maybe the biggest, coat hanger manufacturer in the world, supplying most of the big chains in America and Europe and Asia.
What, for you, was the most exciting phase in the total development of Spotless?
Well, for me, I've got to go back to before the 70s, our coupon era, our era when we'd had a fire and we had to build back the business, and I used to go around all the factories in Hong Kong and Asia and pick up dolls and cameras and very cheap price, and come back and advertise a free camera for every $10 worth of dry cleaning, or a free doll, or a free budgigar, or a free goldfish. And I copied these from all over the place, and then I'd always get them at their source, the gimmick, you might say, and it went particularly well. We ran Australia out of goldfish one year. Christmas time came and there was no goldfish or budgigars. You could not. How the hell we managed to get budgigars into shops around Australia and around Victoria and Sydney. And I don't know how we did it. We did it.
If someone wants to walk away with a budgerigar, what did they need to do?
Oh, we had a little container, we put it in, and we just had to, brought into $10 worth of dry cleaning, or $15, I forgot how much, and you walked away with the budgerigar.
The budgerigar.
Which might have cost us 50 cents or something, I've forgotten the price. But, so they were very, I don't know whether they work today. I mean, it's just so corny to see it so corny today, but it's, Like in areas like Chicago, they used to have, in certain parts of Chicago, you might say the lower socio-economic areas of Chicago, you'd get away with gold fishing, but you wouldn't in other parts of Chicago. It's so it all varies. But we used to just do it carte blanche, and it worked. I'm not saying it worked today, but certainly put our name on the map.